5 things you should know about the powerful new moon happening December 22nd, 2022. Before I get into the 5 themes, I just want to say new moons are a great time to finally commit to something your intuition has been asking you to do. It's a great time to commit to inspired action, or as Eckhart Tolle calls it, awakened action. Not action that your mind decides would be smart and wise, but action that's inspired from within, that might not even seem smart or wise or logical, but there's a feeling that says you should do this, you want to do this. And it's a great time to say, you know what the heck, I'm going to go for it. And when you commit to these inspired goals, we'll say, during the time of the new moon energy, you feel a lot of support, a lot of confirmation, and you can make great headway forward very quickly, but also in a very joyful way. With that said, my friends, I will now get into the 5 different themes and go a lot deeper into this new moon energy for December. Number 1, it's time to stop playing it small. History is filled with countless examples of human beings that followed the calling, the intuition of their soul to do something great with their life. And that same phenomenon is happening way more now than ever before. And a lot of people that watch videos like this that are actually tapped into like the moon energy and things of that nature, they are people that are fully aware of what Napoleon Hill calls the other self. The other self you might know as the higher self, the soul, the infinite part of you that has the ability to sort of send you signals and messages for what you could do potentially with your life. Exciting, powerful directions you could steer your life. And I believe a lot of people right now are aware of this other self, people like you. Not only that, but this new moon in particular is, I would say, giving your other self a louder voice. This other self might be really obnoxiously telling you it's time. It's time to stop playing it small. It's time to understand that your mind is always going to feel limited. But what's trying to guide you is infinite in its power, in its potential. It has all the ability and then some to guide you along this path into the unknown, into your potential, into your power. And it's becoming to where it's almost no longer a choice, where you might feel like you gotta do it. There's no other option. Your boats are being burned, and it's time. It's time whether you like it or not, whether you feel ready, whether you think you're ready or not. This other self is getting loud. This other self is knocking at your door saying it's time to stop limiting yourself. It's time to stop playing it small and to wake up to what you're truly capable of. And if you give this other self, you give your intuition just a chance, give it a chance. Say, okay, I'll go in this new direction even though it scares me for a little while. I promise you, if you can do that, you will start to see just how things come together. How there's magic, how there's synchronicity, how there's guidance, how you have every single thing you need in the exact instant you actually need it. And life can unfold in a very miraculous way when you listen to the other self. But I promise you, and I've done this before, I've had the same thing happen to me many years ago, and I get it. I know it's not easy. Like many of you, I was also very established in a very comfortable, familiar life scenario, life circumstance, also an identity. And this other self kind of woke up in me and said, we got to go do this other thing. It's going to involve letting go of everything you thought you knew about yourself. It will involve letting go of all the solid structures in your life. It'll also involve you letting go of your identity and your sense of self. And you got to just go and hope that you blossom into this new thing that has the ability to do this new stuff and go in this new direction. And it's scary and it's very hard, and the mind can come up with a gazillion reasons to not do it. It's not the right time. It's not practical. What are people going to think? What do I think about it? It's nuts. And yet this other self, it's connected. From my perception, is connected to the will of life itself. And when you act in accordance with the will of God, you could say with the will of your higher self, then there is harmony. And even though you can't see up ahead quite exactly how things are going to work in your favor, they just somehow always do. When your actions are inspired, when you live your life based upon the guidance of your soul and not your fear. Number two, just one word, disrupted. You might feel like your life right now is being disrupted. And it's like things are going okay, hunky-dory, and all of a sudden there are these challenges, there are these like predicaments kind of dropped into your lap, these bombs that erupt in your life that you are forced to deal with. And it can seem like, oh, the energy is bad. This is a heavy energy, people say. This is like, what's going on with the astrology? It's like, I would say, even though this is an astrology video, put that aside. It's not, in my opinion, from the astrology. It's from that higher self helping you and equipping you with experiences you need to catalyze you moving into this potential that you've always had. But now the timing is for you to realize it. So I found that, practically speaking, we can get where there's like multiple disruptions coming into our life. I found for myself there are usually two reasons why that happens. Number one is we've been clinging too long. So even as you may relate to this, where maybe you've known for quite some time that whatever you're putting your time and energy into is no longer in sync, no longer resonates, it's not fulfilling, and you just know you can't really be happy there long term, but because you're afraid of the unknown, you've sort of stuck around as long as you can. Well, these disruptions come when it's almost like life is pushing you out, pushing you back into alignment, pushing you where you belong. In fact, I read a comment just yesterday on one of my YouTube videos, and someone said that it felt like the universe rerouted them. And I think that's a perfect way to look at it. The second reason why we can get these disruptions is to equip us with, I would say, life skills that are relevant for this next leg of our journey. And a good example, I was out to dinner the other day with my best friend, Aaron Dowdy, and Aaron Dowdy is a perfect example of all this. For so long, he's been talking about he feels called to do live, in-person, like spiritual events instead of what I'm doing here, YouTube videos. Aaron's mastered YouTube. He's got over 1 million followers. He's comfortable. He's good at it. His mind would prefer, he just stays doing this because it's easy for him now. It makes him a lot of money, helps a lot of people. On paper, it's like, why would I ever dare to change that? Well, Aaron also has another self. Another self said, yeah, you've sort of completed this chapter and then some, and it's time to move on. And he's doing it. He's willing. He's setting out to do these live events. But I was out to dinner with him the other day, and he was saying that right now he has two homes. He's moving from one house to another. And in the house he's living at currently, he came home from a vacation and there was no water. He's got one of those things where it's like this big reservoir of water, and when it empties, he's got to refill it. And that was empty. There's a leak or something. So he had no water, no hot shower. He didn't care because he was going to be moving into this other house on that same day. And I was talking to him and he went to this other house, and the people that were renting it before, they turned everything off. There's no water, no electricity, no nothing. So Aaron's like, what the hell's going on? I got no water here. I got no hot water or electricity here. And he was like frustrated. It was like a life disruption. And what he concluded is that, you know what I plan to do is do a lot of traveling. He wants to go around the world and put on these awesome events. Well, guess what that's going to require? Flexibility. It's going to require him learning how to bring home the comforts of home wherever he goes. And even though it's annoying to him, it's building up his ability to thrive in these sort of fluctuating scenarios that he's now headed into. And I found this to be the case with myself. So a lot of times what we look at as problems are really our prayers being answered by whatever forces you choose to believe in that are giving us the intangible but necessary qualities we need to go and be thriving at this potential we're being sucked into. Number 3, I typed in right there, a spirit quest. What I'm describing is a situation a lot of people find themselves in, and I'm in it right now actually as well, going through it all over again in my life, and I've been through it before. And it's a very unusual situation where there's this strong inner conflict with this other self, and then like practicality and logic and what people think and what you think. And a lot of times there's this conflict. And it's one of those, I would say, life situations or life like problems, not problem, but like an unresolved thing to solve, that you just can't find answers in most places you would normally look. You're not going to go onto Google. You're not going to even watch an energy update and find the answer. It's a spiritual matter. No one's going to be able to tell you what to do, when to do it, how to do it, what it's going to look like. No one's going to be able to give you the clarity and the confirmation your mind would love to have. It's a spiritual problem to solve. It's a spiritual challenge to overcome. So naturally, I'm just sort of predicting here that you might already be finding yourself gravitating towards spiritual books, maybe like dusting off a book you've read years ago and revisiting it and like seeing it with fresh eyes. For example, I'm going through a lot of the Napoleon Hill's work because he's a good example if you don't have anybody. He's like walked this journey. And for some reason, just reading his experiences and his advice, it's so perfect for this type of situation. But it's a bit esoteric. It's not very grounded in like ordinary, agreed upon logic for human beings. It's something else. It's a spiritual content. So you might find yourself getting what you need. You might be reading spiritual stuff and it might be reflecting awarenesses you already have and kind of confirming your intuition. And it might just be like the type of guidance, the type of support you need most at this time. You might find by looking within or looking into like deepening your spiritual understanding. Number 4, it will be undeniably obvious and in your face when you take even one step in alignment, one step that brings you closer to your potential. It can be a mundane step, it can be a little step, but you will be given like illuminated ability to see. When you try to cling to the old, it'll blow up in your face right now. Not in a literal way, but sort of. But when you finally yield to what this other self is trying to get you to do, you'll find yourself just full of energy and passion and enthusiasm, and it's almost like you have been suppressing this positive energy, and then you take that one step, and all of a sudden you're just like a gust of fresh air, just filling you with vitality and enthusiasm, excitement, confidence, faith, joy, expansiveness. And then you'll find that energy kind of radiates out and is reflected to you through synchronicity and signs and magic and all this cool stuff, to where it's so obvious that this is your path. And when you're in that kind of flow state, there is no fear. There's the awareness that this just feels right. And it also feels very good. I'll give an example. This point in particular was inspired by what happened to me yesterday. One of my soul's callings, and you've heard me talk about it a gazillion times on this channel, if you've been watching, is to kind of peel back from being so present online on my social media, and I want to become a writer and write books, and that be my main source of information, primary. And anyway, I've talked about it. I put it off. All the things I'm saying to do, I've not done. I have clung. I have been afraid. But now I find myself getting like whooshed into this new me. And yesterday, the reason I'm saying this is I signed up with a book coach. And right after I signed up with this book coach, she sent me all these different assignments, and I started writing them. And I just felt like I felt like I've been putting this chapter off for so long, and now that I finally just let go and jumped into it, I can't put it into words, but I felt freaking amazing. And I felt like I was finally in tune with life. And it's funny because I was driving, I had to go to the bank for a second, and I was driving down the road thinking about all of this, thinking about, man, I feel so good. I was reminded of how great it feels, how reaffirming it is when you take an inspired step towards your dreams. And I was like thinking about this, and then like I sometimes will shuffle through all my songs on my iPod, and then, I'm not even a big fan, but the song U2, Mysterious Ways, came on. It's all about like the magic of the universe, and it was just so like, out of thousands of songs, this song came on, and it's upbeat, and it was a perfect complement to that type of energetic state I found myself in. And all I had to do was what my higher self has been telling me to do the whole freaking time, is to let go and just go. Just go where you want to go anyways. And you might experience this with something even less obvious. I remember for years I felt inspired to sell my house and move. But I didn't want to do it. On paper it seemed nuts, it seemed abrupt, it seemed reckless, etc. But I remember the day I decided to do it and start cleaning up one of my drawers. It was a messy drawer I had to clean up. Just cleaning out that drawer filled me with this exact same type of magic energy I just described. So I recommend, if you've been like holding out, if you've been like, procrastinating and hesitating, and maybe you have your good reasons, I invite you around this new moon just to test the waters. Just to do a little something in that direction, and I predict you'll have the same type of energetic confirmation and synchronicity and magic, just to let you know, to confirm that you can trust this force within you. You can trust this path. You don't have to see the way, because you're met with magic and synchronicity and guidance and the support of the universe. Your mind doesn't have to figure it all out. It doesn't have to know all the answers. It doesn't have to see all that far up ahead, because you can feel it. There's a divine unfoldment that occurs only when you are aligned with your soul. Number 5, if you can do this, if you can really let go around this time and really do your best to take inspired action towards your dreams, you want to go there anyway, I think around this time a lot of people will at the very least glimpse their potential. And an example that comes to me is many, many years ago, I was in a drug rehab, and at that point in my life I was addicted to heroin. And I was in a lot of different drug rehabs. I was in like 5 or 6 of them in a very short span of time. And the final one I was in when I got clean for the long haul, been like 20 years now. I remember for some reason I chose, and I was a very, very shy, introverted guy, but I chose to give this speech. I wrote a poem in rehab, and I chose to read it in front of almost 300 people. And it's so unlike me. I don't know what came over me. I just felt like doing it. I got up there and I read this poem. And I eventually just started paraphrasing it, and it turned into this kind of like speech almost. It just came out of me. And that was like me, where I was like, wow, you have this knack for communicating to large groups of people, something I never would have in a million years thought is possible. So sometimes, even within our doubts, within our insecurities, within our, our mind's limiting beliefs, that other self can just kind of come through for a time, for a window of time. And when it happens, it's almost like you're just witnessing it happening. And you're like, what the hell how is this happening? But it's good. And then it kind of goes away for a while, and you got to work at it to ground it in more so. It took me 20 years of doing this, but you might find at least getting a glimpse, getting a taste, to where even your mind can't deny that, well, something happened there. There is some magic there. So I invite you to be on the lookout for the genius and the brilliance and the ease at which your other self can sort of express that in the next coming weeks. And you might have this contrasted with intense doubt, intense anxiety, I can't highlight enough how challenging it is mentally and emotionally to really burn the bridge and go in this direction you want to go. And for some of you, it might even not even be crazy on paper, but emotionally, it's challenging. But I'm telling you that when you start to like warm up, at the very least, to this idea, this other self can sometimes come through and show you what you have inside of you. It can show you that little spark, that little feeling that's been telling you you're meant for more. You came here to do something more, experience more. You're bigger and more powerful than you think. That little flicker of light can sometimes illuminate all of a sudden, and then it goes away. Just to show you that this is what you have. This is what you've always had. But you got to go over here if you want to see what it's really all about. If you relate to even half the stuff I said, then this other video titled 7 Signs You Are Very Close to Finding Your Life Purpose will be a perfect match for you. I'm going to leave a link right here. You can probably see like the window there. I highly recommend clicking that if you relate, because it'll go a lot deeper into this hero's journey, as Joseph Campbell calls it, that many of you are on right now. Click the button, check out the video, because it's going to help you with this exact type of situation I'm describing. With that said, have an amazing day. Thank you, my friends. Much love.